To operate the facial steamer, first of all you'll need to make sure that the unit is turned on. You'll find the large red on switch located on the side of the column. We'll turn that on now. The machine will beep and you'll be able to access the functions. To operate the steamer, you will need to come to the top part of the unit, and all of the controls for the steamer will be found on the top panel here. Before you begin to turn on the machine, you must make sure that there is adequate water in the steamer jar. To fill the jar, lift the flap at the back of the unit, lift the flap here and fill with distilled water. Please note that you must use only distilled water in the steamers. Using tap water or any other kind of water will cause scale to build up on the element and will damage the steamer over time. This will also void your warranty, so please do ensure that you use distilled water in the steamer. Pour the water into the reservoir located in the top and that will fill the steamer jar. Now you're ready to turn the steamer on. The power button is located on the right hand side of the panel. To use the steamer, simply press the power switch and observe the red light that indicates that the steamer is now working. You will notice that the timer panel also starts at 15 minutes. If you would like to use less time or more time, simply adjust the time shown on the timer panel by using the down or the up arrow. Please note that it takes approximately 8 or 9 minutes for the water to boil and for the steam to become available, so please ensure that you have adequate time set on the timer panel for the boiling of the water and also the use that you expect to need. When you want to access the steam, press the vapor button located on the left hand side of the panel, and you will notice that a green light will show in the numbers above the vapor button. Once the steam starts to come through, you will notice that you can use more steam by pressing the button again to go to level 2 or pressing the button again to go to level 3. Level 2 and level 3 provide a slightly stronger flow of the steam if desired. While you're using the steamer, it will simply tick down on the timer, so you will notice that the minutes on the timer panel will slowly tick down with each minute. Simply use the steamer as desired and as your normal function of any other steamer would be. There is also an ozone function. The ozone button can be found next to the vapor button on the top of the panel. When you require the ozone, simply press the ozone button and you will notice that a red light comes on to show the ozone function is now working. We recommend to only ever use the ozone function when the steam is actually working. To turn the ozone function off, simply press the ozone button again. The red light will then go off and that will indicate that the ozone function has stopped. The steamer also has a warming function. If you've finished a facial and you know that you have another facial coming in shortly, you may like to keep the water warm in the steamer so that that cuts down on the time needed to heat the water for your next client. If you'd like to use the warm function, simply press the warm button and it will keep the water warm in the jar, and it will come on for 60 minutes at a time. If you only require it for 30 minutes, of course you can use the down arrow button to adjust the time. Otherwise, simply leave it at the 60 minutes that automatically comes on pre-selected. That will keep the water warm and make it easier for you to access the steam quickly for your next treatment. When the steam starts to come out, please ensure that the steamer nozzle is directed away from the client. We don't ever want to have any accident of any steam spitting out at the client unexpectedly, so please ensure that the steamer is facing away from your client. Once the steam starts, you can then direct the nozzle towards the client's face. This is easy to do because the arm of the steamer actually rotates 180 degrees, so you can move the arm from this side all the way down, all the way across to this side, and back again, and the head of the steamer also rotates. Not quite 360 degrees, but almost, and that will give you the versatility that you need to adjust the position of the steamer according to your client's position. When you're finished with the steamer, simply turn the power off from the power button, or alternatively, turn the vapour off by pressing the vapour button once again. Until all of the lights in the steamer vapour panel have gone off, and then you can turn the power off from the button on the right hand side. In order to empty the jar, or in order to clean the jar of the steamer, simply come around to the back of the unit. Please ensure that the water in the jar is cool at this time. Please don't attempt to do this just after you've used the unit, as when the water is hot in here, it could actually cause a burn or an injury to yourself in attempting to do so at that time. The water in the jar is nice and cool now, so I'll show you how to remove that. Simply hold the jar by the handle provided and use your other hand to manipulate the screw plate at the bottom of the jar. Simply turn the plate in order to loosen it, and slide the plate out from underneath the jar. Remove the jar. Please ensure that you don't lose the plastic seal, as that actually helps to make sure that the jar fits securely in underneath the unit. Empty the water out and wash as desired. Simply wash the jar with detergent and hot water. Please do this on a regular basis. If you do not clean the water in the jar, it can build up a little bit of contamination in the jar, and you can get little floaty things in the water. This can cause the steamer to spit hot water out at your client, so it's imperative that the water in the jar is kept nice and clean. If you need to soak it with some vinegar solution, you can do so in order to clean the jar, and also in order to clean the element if necessary. Please refer to your manual for the instructions on how to do this. Once you've emptied the water out from the jar, you can fit the seal back on top of the jar. The jar can be empty at this stage if you've just cleaned it, that's fine. You know how to fill the water from the top of the machine. Place the jar back into position, ensuring that the seal goes all the way into the top of the cradle. That helps to give a nice fit and make sure that the steam and the water is not escaping, otherwise it can cause the jar to actually overflow. Place the plate back underneath the jar and tighten the plate using the screw button or the screw bottom. Make sure that that is nice and secure and firm. Don't over tighten it, but make sure that the jar cannot move when it's in position. This will minimise the risk of any water spillage or any damage such as burns occurring. Please make sure that you do clean the water on a regular basis, and as we stated before, only ever use distilled water in the steamer.